Well, every now and again in the news business, you have the opportunity to talk about a truly extraordinary story, something earth shattering, something that represents a change in epoch. In fact, we might even have to update our calendars to before this and after this. Such is the import of this moment. I am, of course, talking about nothing less than the Miss America Award being given to an actual woman. It's quite extraordinary. It's not something that I had on my bingo card for 2024, I can tell you that. And to talk about this extraordinary news with us is Anna McGovern. You're a wonderful addition to the Aussie Wire team. We're very happy to have you here. Tell us about how could such an extraordinary event take place?
I know it's pretty shocking. I think in the news as well, you just see so many trans women, men, winning those titles. For example, you had Miss Netherlands, Miss Portugal, and you see so much of this on the news that
Mm.
it's actually now shocking that an actual woman can win a title that is designed for women in the first place. I think what's incredible about the story as well is that she's serving currently in the military, and I think it just shows as well that not she's being celebrated for as a woman for what she does,
Mm.
and it's not another woke virtue signal that's being pushed out to make them look good. This is actually, this is kind of representing what the pageants are meant to be about.
Well, it is quite interesting. It's quite extraordinary because I do think, as much as I take the piss out of the story itself, I do think there is actually something kind of bigger going on here. I it's hard to prove because these are the things that happen sort of behind closed doors and inside people's minds. But I would never have expected Miss Universe or Miss America over the past 20 years to ever give their top prize to someone who's actively serving in the military. That just
Mm.
silently the judges would have gone, oh, well, she's not the kind of person we want to promote. We'll find someone who's actively working in some charitable thing or actively working in some social cause or actively doing something else. But the fact that they're in the military would have been an unspoken veto. And yet, quite clearly, that's not the case. Now, either it never was, and I was wrong all the way through, or perhaps do you think this maybe represents a bit of a shifting of attitudes?
I have read this, and that was something that might have been true in the past, but I think this definitely represents a shift in attitude.
Mm,
And I think as well, there are many roles in the military that are suited for women,
mm,
and I think that I think it just attests to the fact that she has many talents, and that's something that we should be celebrating as well. Not just looks as well. She's doing something, contributing something real to society.
mm,
I think, yeah, this was something that in the past might have been the case, but I actually think that it is representing a shift. And I
mm.
think actually that could be a good thing.
Oh, I don't disagree that it could be a very, very good thing. For me, where this gets genuinely interesting for me is where we're seeing a number of companies having to kind of take a step back from the level of wokeness that they've previously achieved. An example in the US that's not related to the cultural stuff, but the Hertz rent-a-car company is now selling off tens of thousands of electric cars and replacing them with internal combustion engine cars because they're viewing that as a failed experiment in electrification. They're having to go back to the ICE. Victoria's Secret here, of course, famous for many years for their sometimes, frankly, scandalous runway shows that they would put on and their underwear and their supermodels. And they had a very clear brand and a very clear look. You can like it, you can hate it, but everyone knew what it was. And in the last couple of years, they've gone very progressive. They've been all about body positivity and all sorts of other things like that. Their sales have plummeted, and we've recently seen them turn around and say, oh, we're going to go back to being sexy again. What's going on in the bigger picture culturally? I mean, firstly, how did these companies do such stupid things in the first place? And why is it that we're seeing now a growing number of them changing direction?
So I think for many of these companies, they put out products, for example, that would probably be to act as a virtue signal, to signal how progressive and kind they are.
Mm,
And we're now representing this group that we consider to be a minority. And I think the more ridiculous that it's getting, the more that people are starting to realize that it's getting absolutely out of control,
mm,
and they just don't care for it, which I think also is shown by the fact that the sales have plummeted. reality, and people are just not taking an interest anymore. They can see right through it. The companies are only doing it as a virtue signal, not because they actually believe in what they're putting forward. It has no meaning behind it. And I think now that the public is, showing it for itself by the fact that it's not, the purchases are not being made.
You say it has no meaning behind it. I couldn't agree more. And if anyone disagrees, I challenge you, during Pride Month, go and have a look at all the social media handles and the social media images for the Middle East departments within large international corporations. They'll have the rainbow flag over all of the others, and then the Middle East department will still have their traditional logo. They don't believe a word of it. It's just about virtue signaling. Well, Anna, what are they going to think of next? Women are now winning the Miss America pageant. Are we going to let women vote soon, do you think? Like, what's the next sort of step of progress on this amazing pathway that we're on?
That'd be a push. But I think as well, the fact that we even have to have this conversation, and that it's so shocking that a woman can win a beauty pageant for women, I think it just shows how far gone many of these industries and institutions have gone, because it's now shocking that, something that's been going on for a very long time is now come back again. We have a woman winning the pageant and not a man. Like, I think it definitely represents a cultural shift.
Well, mark today in your diaries, ladies and gentlemen. This is the day that a new epoch has begun. Perhaps, just perhaps, we've seen peak weird, peak madness, peak woke. Maybe some sanity is coming back. Anna McGovern, as always, thank you so much for joining us here on the Aussie Wire.